Hello, and welcome back to The Director's Cut, brought to you by the Directors Guild of America, where each episode we bring you a fresh and insightful interview with one of the film industry's top directors, conducted by one of their peers. Remember to subscribe to our podcast on Google Play Music, iTunes, Stitcher, or on our SoundCloud page at soundcloud.com/thedirectorscut. And if you're enjoying The Director's Cut, please take a moment to like, share, or comment. We love hearing your feedback. This episode takes us behind the scenes of director Greta Gerwig's new film, Lady Bird. The film follows Christine Lady Bird McPherson and her relationship with her wildly loving, strong-willed mother, who works tirelessly to keep her family afloat after Lady Bird's father loses his job. Set in 2002 in Sacramento, California, amidst a rapidly shifting American economic landscape, the film looks at both the humor and pathos in the turbulent bond between mother and daughter. Ms. Gerwig also penned the screenplay for Lady Bird, which marks her feature directorial debut. Following a recent screening of the film at the DGA Theater in Los Angeles, Ms. Gerwig spoke with director Spike Jonze about filming Lady Bird. During their conversation, Ms. Gerwig discusses her intention to make the film a love story between a mother and a daughter, her interest in playing with dramatic irony within a story, and the advice she got from directors Rebecca Miller, Mike Mills, and Spike Jonze.
Right. Congratulations. It's beautiful. This is my second time I saw it. I saw it last week also, and I love it. And
Thank you.
I texted you when I saw the trailer. I knew I was going to love it. Just from the trailer, I got emotional. And
thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for all being here too. But especially to you.
Okay. I love it. This time I noticed the line where she says, the nun says to her, the way she writes about Sacramento with such detail, it has such love in it. And I feel like that is this movie. It's like all the details are the love, and the love for the characters in the story. And it's obviously so meticulously thought out and planned and felt. And I was wondering, where did it start? Where does it start? Does it start with some feeling that's like urgent or important?
I suppose when I began writing it, when I've written with Noah Baumbach, I start with the same way. It's sort of a hunch and maybe a line, and then I keep pressing on it and unravel it from behind and see what's back. It's almost like a thread that you start pulling on, and then you realize there's much more to it than you thought there was. And I knew I wanted to make something set in Sacramento because I am from Sacramento and I love it. And I knew I had an idea of wanting to make a love story between a mother and a daughter. But the line that I actually started with was the moment in college when when someone says, "Where are you from?" She says Sacramento, and then they say, "Where are we from?" And she says San Francisco. And that was actually the first thing I wrote for it. And I almost had the sense of wanting to reverse engineer the movie from that moment, so that when she...
You knew that was the end?
I knew that I had a feeling of like, what if when she says that line, the audience felt like, but I know all the people and that you're selling out, and I know the place, and I know the details. I know what that is, and you sold it out to look 10% cooler to a person you just met at a party.
Dave.
Yeah, David. Yeah, so it would be both funny but also a real gut punch. But then I kind of write outwards. I don't write linear, and it takes me a really long time.
Right, outwards, meaning like just like here's a scene and here's a scene, then slowly it comes together.
Yeah, yes, but I write too much, so I'll wind up with like way too much material, and then I'll sort of winnow it down. But I feel like I know I'm okay if I have like somewhere between 300 and 400 pages of material. But that's not. It's easy to write a lot. It's hard to distill. I mean, that's the work of it in a way. It's not the generation of material. It's kind of the.
And the 300 or 400 pages has a through line to it, or has a narrative? No,
it's just 300 pages of stuff,
right? Of
scenes, of people, of places that may or may not be connected, and then I start sifting through them and start. It's almost like a physical act. It almost feels like weaving something.
That's cool. And last time we talked. Well, I guess maybe about the last time, but when we talked last year before you shot, we Can I tell them? Sure, yeah.
I called Spike and I said, "Can you please talk to me on the phone for a couple of hours about directing, and I'm going to ask you all my questions, and then you just tell me any nuggets of information." And I wrote everything down that he said, and I referred to it.
A bunch of directors. So you hit Mike Mills and Noah, I assume.
Noah. I did it with Rebecca Miller. I did it with Wes Anderson. I did it with a Todd Solondz.
Wow.
Whit Stillman gave me a couple of things.
That's cool.
And but yeah, you give me lots of good pieces.
Oh, thank you. But the thing that I remember saying to you was like that, because you had this like sort of and I remember it before my first movie. Like I thought I wouldn't know what I was going to do and what I was doing, and you don't to a certain degree. But also, I said you've done this, you've written, you've been on set, you've been like sucking it all up for years, and I assumed like the first day you showed up, you would be like, oh, actually I do know what I'm doing, and I was wondering if that was the case.
I felt like, because I had the benefit of working with Sam Levy, who's shot a couple of films that Frances Ha, Mistress America, which Noah directed, and we both live in New York, and so I asked him to do the film very long before there was a cast or financing or anything. It was a long process, and he said yes after he read the script. So we had all this time to start preparing and sort of laying out what we were going to do. And we went to a lot of movies and we looked at a lot of photographs, and we shot listed, storyboarded the whole thing pretty meticulously. And it wasn't just so that we knew what we were going to get to, cover the scene and make sure we had it. It was like, what is the emotion we're trying to get? It would be like little sentences and clues. And we actually, in pre-production, ended up making copies of it for every department head, because it would have reference images, and it was this document we built over a year. And then
it was images and the reason why of those images.
Yeah. Or it would be like, listen to this song. This is what So it would be the actual, like, here's the we'll get the wide, and then we're going to move over here and get the it would be that, but then also this other thing. So it became like a second script in a way. And then I had a wonderful, very dedicated first AD, Jonas Spacatorelli. I'm sorry, I always get it inverted, but he was very involved with. I mean, he is, to me, was like the third leg of the stool in terms of what the movie was. And he was not only a genius in scheduling and figuring out how we were going to make the film, as an independent film, and you don't have the luxury to shoot in order all the time, but he was so sensitive to where each of the actors were going to be emotionally in the day, and it was such a gift that I didn't know I was going to get, and I didn't know how important it was until he was there, and he showed me the schedule, and he walked it through literally with an emotional arc for each character.
That's amazing.
Which was incredible. And so the three of us spent so much time together and walked through every single day. They spent all this time walking me through, and then we're going to get this shot at this time and this. So that by the time I was on set the first day, I had shadow boxed it so many times that I realized, I was more able to handle what would go wrong inevitably because I had such a solid base underneath me. But I think that's why you build a base, because things will go awry.
Yeah. And going back to the list of all the directors you talked to, what were some of the most practical things that people said? Do you remember, like, or the things that actually came in useful or?
You said something very practical that was very helpful. You said, if you don't like a shot, just start turning off lights. And you said you probably have too many lights on, and it gives you a second to think about why you don't like the shot. And that was very helpful. That was a good practical piece of advice. Mike Mills, something I took from him was I had everyone on set wear name tags, the whole crew every day, and we would, would be a name tag that said Greta, and then there would be a question of the day that our wonderful PAs would come up with, and they would be like, question, what's your go-to karaoke song, or what would you be if it was not, working in movies?
So say Greta, and then your song would be.
We didn't start the fire, which is a song I realized 5 minutes too late when I was 15 would not help me get a boyfriend. I was like, this will impress everybody. No, it doesn't.
The fast words part, you got the whole.
Yeah, I was like,
Can you do it right now?
Unfortunately, yes. I won't do that. But that was it was practical, but it was also so helpful because, and in a way, I understood that as an actor too, because especially for actors who are only coming in for like a couple of days, they don't have that much time to get to know everyone on the crew, and it makes everyone a person, not just an anonymous person who's standing there, who's, a boom operator, a gaffer. It allowed them to feel very quickly part of the group.
Yeah, which you have something to talk about too.
Yeah, exactly. And that was a great practical thing. Rebecca Miller, she told me, she said, oh, you should let your actors meet with the costume designer on their own first, and you can always manage and go in there, but let them make that connection so that great. They feel that they're building the wardrobe of this character together, and it gives you, she said something like, it's important for actors to have a separate life from the director so that you can observe it, that you're not constantly constructing it, that you're figuring out how to shoot it.
That's great. That's good.
Good. I know a lot of smart people.
Yeah, I want to see this list.
I should circulate it at some point.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, we need it. The what about the movie? It just feels so intimate, and I assume people ask you a lot of autobiographical questions, like which part's real, and is that how's that feel?
Well,
do you want to kill them?
No. I mean, I understand. I mean, there are things that are from my life in terms of like being from Sacramento, and I went to a Catholic girls' school. I was not like Lady Bird in my person. I didn't make anyone call me by a different name. I never dyed my hair bright red. I was a very like rule following kind of a kid. I was a people pleaser, and I think writing it was a way to explore something that wasn't accessible to me as a person. And the characters are, Marion, played by Laurie Metcalf, it's not like my mom, and the fights aren't the same, but the heart of that rich, complicated relationship is close to my heart and close to what that feels like. It rhymes with the truth more than it is the truth, if that makes sense. But I think particularly showing a city at that moment, and kind of it was a way for me to talk about now without setting a film now of this moment after this national trauma of 9/11, and we were in this war in Afghanistan, we're getting into the war in Iraq. There's this erosion of the middle class occurring, that was something that I saw growing up, and I still see now, of this sort of feeling that the bottom's falling out, and everybody's, within the context of their own lives and their own families. It's, this idea of like, I want to give my child a better life than I had seems to be less accessible and less accessible. And that's something I kind of wanted to deal with, and that I know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love the. It's interesting that when I first saw it, the sort of financial anxiety of the family was so, so sort of constant and sort of intense. But then when it really hit, for me, when it hit was when the boy that she was dating came over and said, "Oh, there actually were tracks. I actually had to come over. I did cross the tracks," and just that somehow sort of metabolized all that tension and made it so I think the reaction of the mom to that is really strong. But
yeah, I mean, I think it's also, I mean, the character of Lady Bird too, and she keeps looking up at other people and things that she wants, like the kids that she sees with the fancy cars and the big houses, and it makes it incapable in some ways of seeing what she does have, and that she is the object of envy for someone else. And I always think, her friend Julie probably looks at Lady Bird and says, but you live in that sweet house and your family's all together. And that because you're always kind of looking up, you can't see what's right there. But I don't have an answer for any of it. I just wanted to show it sort of honestly. And I don't know. It's just interesting when you talk to people afterwards, and so many parents talking about taking their kids to school, and teenagers talking about their lives. But so many people have said to me, oh, I didn't invite people over because I was worried that I was the kid with the weird house or the weird family. But then you realize everybody feels that way. It doesn't, you could be the kid in the perfect house, and you're like, I don't want people to come over and see what's really going on. But that feeling of somebody else has it better or knows more is pretty universal, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it's interesting because I came last week with Rowan, who's a teenager, and she was I think it just she really related to it, and I could relate to it too. From my, she's living, and I could relate to it thinking about it. But I think it's it's one of the more subtle and sort of masterful films about being a teenager, because it's all in the details, and it's all in the performances too, between all of them, and all the parts, and her and her friend. And I think that all the subtleties and just the feelings, I love the moment where she goes back to Julie's house, and Julie's obviously upset about something, and we never know what it is. And I think that just the feeling of that, you don't know everything, but you feel everything. And I feel like that's very true to being a teenager.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm always interested in I'm interested in things that the audience knows that the characters don't know. There's all these moments where you're alone with, and really honestly, the actors are so great, so they give you so much with just a few lines. They have this whole sense of life that they bring to it, like Stephen McKinley Henderson, who plays the priest Father Leviatch, and Lois Smith, who plays Sister Sarah Joan, and just really truly great actors. And but I like those moments where the audience gets to spend a second with Julie touching her name on the cast list. And Lady Bird doesn't see that. And Lady Bird never knows of Julie's crush with the teacher, and, the way Marion is tender with her coworker, or Larry in the job interview. These places you can't go with other people. And so that the audience has that, but our heroine does not have it. And then the things that even the audience can't know, but they feel. What is Julie upset about? I don't know. And you feel that it's just, I don't know. I feel like that's when you live in a community, you feel like you know people so well, and then yet there's so much you can never know.
And And I also liked how, it's like the similarity, how you were sort of painting the daughter and mother and sort of the similarities between them, and he, the dad says it at one point, but the scenes that really got me, especially seeing it this time, putting them back to back, is how the really touching scene with her ex-boyfriend outside of the coffee shop, cut right next to then the mom consoling the priest, and that they have such empathy. They're such empathetic people, but they can't access that together.
No, I know. I wanted the first shot that they're so sweet and lying in the bed together, and that's such a moment of calm because they're unconscious. and then it's sort of like the minute we're awake, it starts twisting. If Lady Bird has an ability to be compassionate, she gets it from her mother. And even though they keep missing each other, they're just so connected.
Yeah. I think we're out of time, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another DGA Q&A. Don't forget, you can check out past episodes of The Director's Cut wherever you listen to podcasts. We have many more great discussions for you coming up soon, including Rob Reiner's LBJ, Stephen Chbosky's Wonder, and Joe Wright's Darkest Hour. So be sure to subscribe to our podcast to stay up to date. And if you're enjoying the podcast, please like, share, and leave us a review. We'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time. This podcast is produced by the Directors Guild of America. Music is by Dan Wally.